Welcome to the Scale Up, the Entrepreneur Simulator unboxing video. This is a fantastic for startups, scale-ups, incubators, accelerators. Really useful to be able to use this kit. Obviously, the first thing that really kind of jumps out at you is the fantastic design that the team have come up with. So as we open it up, we will go through each section. So we've got the Scale Up instructions. We also have the three how-to user guides for the tools which will accompany this, and we'll go into a little more detail. So we've got building your scale up, the investor map, and the long-term funding roadmap. So we'll dive into those a little bit later. Obviously, the all-important cash that the teams will be using to be able to fund their scale up. Let's dive into the company cards. So we have obviously a number of industries. You've got tourism, solar, seafood, healthcare cards, and obviously we have a debrief card in there as well. Very good, we'll delve into those a little bit later. You've got two types of investor cards. You have your regular investor cards and also some super investor cards as well. Again, we'll dive into those. Obviously, part of the simulation is that you have your boom and bust cards. So again, these are all about the gameplay of the simulation. So it's all part of the experience. Some more investor cards, and we also have the strategy cards. So these are really good. You can actually run your own simulations just using these cards and no other parts of the simulation kit. We'll also go into these a little bit more as well. So you have a number of different elements that we'll be looking at. You have your capital and finance sheeting, where you'll work out your equity splits. You'll also look at the cap math tables as well. So again, those are really useful, really great. You can order more of those either via the Strategy Tools team, or you can also order them and get them printed locally. We also have three boards. These boards are for the facilitator boards, and as you see, it's got them up there. So you've got the bank where we store our money. You've got where you keep your investor cards. You've got some instructions on there as well. Obviously the strategy cards and instructions. So again, everything's pretty self-explanatory. We always get your little box of tricks as well. And obviously, what I like about the team is they always put you more than 2 die in the box, and then obviously you've got your characters that will be plomping around the way around the board as we move forward. And then finally, obviously, we have the board, and as we unwrap that, you'll see again a really good design on the board. And obviously you'll see where the boom and bust cards go and all the different elements of the board. So fantastic. What we're doing, we will now have a deep dive into some of the other sections and each of the elements of the Strategy Tools Scale Up Entrepreneur Simulator. So thank you very much. We'll move on to the next bit. So another element here of the start of the Scale Up simulation is obviously the company cards. As we mentioned earlier, you've got you've got tourism, we've got solar, we've got seafood, and we've got healthcare. So these are handed out at the beginning of the simulation, and these are all based on real examples as well. So this is a company which is not fictitious, it is real, it's obviously been changed, but it just tells you a little bit about it, who their market is, what their value proposition is to their customers, their business model, and obviously their financials. One thing which is similar on all of this is the financials, because the two founders have financed the company with $250,000 each through family money. You've also applied for a H2020 and are waiting for a response. So again, it just gives you a little bit of real insight here into what the founders and companies and scale-ups will be looking at. So again, really good. So we're going to cover two boards in this section. When we look at it from the facilitator point of view, there are 3 facilitator boards in total. As I said, there's obviously the bank, the strategy board, and the investor board. But we're going to spend a bit more time on the investor board very shortly, so we'll leave that one out for now. But with the bank, obviously you've got your cash, and you lay your cash out across that board. Just makes it really simple for you to be able to manage. When we look at the strategy cards, as I said earlier, these can be used on their own or within the simulation. This is really much an advanced simulation, simulation capabilities. So this will give you some idea. So again, they are all categorized, got potential exits, funding rounds, team, product, market need, problem statement, and obviously these align to the different stages of a scale up, and they'll ask you some very good questions. So if you just pick a couple of them out. So market potential, how would you define the market potential for your scale up? What are key data points you would use? So this is really good if you actually have some founders and some scale-up founders sitting around the table, and this could be a little breakout session. So you could actually ask them, say, right, okay, we're going to break out now. If you could quickly discuss and present back to us how you would define your market potential for your scale-up. Really, really important to get people thinking in that way. Also, accelerators, what would you look for to find a strategic fit to an early stage accelerator program? So again, this would be a breakout session, get some ideas, get some pens and whiteboards out, and get people to come back and share their findings or their comments. That could be a half hour to an hour discussion. And then funding rounds, if you're unable to secure outside investors, what would your alternative backup plan look like? Really, really useful. Sometimes when scale-ups are looking for funding, they get very desperate as the budget and the burn rate is increasing. So if you couldn't find out, what other options would you have? So really good for people to think differently in these worlds and how things might change, especially within the world that we're living in at the moment. Also then finally, some potential exits. Who would be a potential buyers, acquirers in an exit scenario? How would you approach them and successfully secure a term sheet and negotiate a final sale? So that could be, if the scale up is looking at exiting, that would be a really good idea, just on that roadmap, on the potential exits, to start thinking about the final stage of their involvement within the scale up. So again, really useful, really in-depth strategy. I know that some of the facilitators will just sit down, hand out some of these cards to the scale up founders and just discuss it with them. Fantastic little resource that we have available within the simulation. So as I said, one of the other boards that we have is for the facilitator is the investor card board, and these are some of the investor cards. You'll also notice that these 13 different types that we mentioned earlier, they correspond to the elements at the top here, and obviously we also have some of these super investors as well, so we'll touch on that. So if we just choose a couple of these cards, and so we've got corporate venture capital. A potential competitor has noticed you. They wish to invest 4 million, however they require exclusivity in the market. What do you choose? And then they will give you the terms of their investment. 4 million at a 40 million pre-money investment. What does that mean? That will all be revealed as we continue through. You also then got elements around business angels. So four local business angels have decided to invest together and offer 3 million for 51% of the company. They have extensive industry experience, which is very relevant for your team. You fear they will take over the management of the company. They want to give you 3 million at 6 million pre-money. Is that a good deal? Is that a bad deal? That's one of the things that we'll start delving into. And if you actually look at it, do they actually get 51%? Always worth looking. So we'll have a look at a personal network. So the Greedy Horse Group offers services related to horses and breeding. They're looking for a new business area. They have no knowledge of your field but like your pitch. They offer 5 million for 10% but require you to relocate to the premises of the Greedy Horse Group, develop strategic partnerships and hire the founder's wife as a financial controller. She's a therapist and has completed an extended evening course in private law. They'll give you 5 million at 50 million pre-money. Is that a good deal? These are very much based on real scenarios, which we have come across in the development of the simulation. We have one here which is called family offices. A Norwegian supercluster has gathered 10 family offices with Rasmus Grieg, Strawberry and Friel in the lead. They wish to invest 23 million for 20%, but require 2 of the cluster employees at the board and your resignation as general manager. They'll give you 23 million, 150 million pre. You have to leave the table. Thanks for the effort. So again, just really delving into some of these is super interesting. And how do you start developing your strategy? As I said, we also have the investor cards, the super investor cards. We have 4 of them. You may have noticed at the bottom of that pack, you get to draw a super investor card. These are a lot more in depth in terms of what they want, how they want to work. These are all based on real life super investors as well. So these are really, really useful. And there are some, if you look at here, they do tranches of investment, which just makes it a little bit more complicated. Some of them will even say they want to relocate or open up a office in their region, etc., etc. So again, very, very useful. One simulation facilitator tip, what you want to do is stack the cards. So you get the things like personal network. You also get your personal wealth, small VCs, funds, accelerators at the start of the game, with a view that at the start of the simulation and then towards the end of it, you want to make sure that you're opening that up with some of the bigger investors as well. Okay, so we'll also look at the 2 worksheets that you get. We get one which is the capital financing sheet, and we'll also get the investor worksheet. So this is how you work out your cap tables. So facilitator, team sheet, you'll also put in here first investing round, second investing round, and also your cash in and cash out in the bank. This is really useful when obviously people start working out their equity splits. You do get a stack of them. You can print them off yourself, or you can request more from the strategy tools team. This is the facilitator worksheet, and this tells you how to work out the cap table math. So as we start doing more of this and getting the investment rounds going, we'll also need to start sharing this. This is really good. Most of the time when I'm using these, I don't share this straight away. We go through the process of understanding how people might do it, and then we go into the real way of doing it. So again, very useful piece of sheets of the simulation. Okay, and obviously some other key elements are the boom and bust cards. So the boom cards are obviously things which go well. We have a range of different boom cards in here. So just to give you some example, you are in Chile to explore the emerging ecosystem. You are blown away by the number of active angel investors. Every team on the table gets a new investor card. You should travel more. So some of them are good for everyone, and some of them are good for yourself. Financial Times has awarded you Role Model of the Year. Roll again. Boom. 10 times customer acquisition. You have hired a customer growth manager. He introduces you to lean startup methodology and organises for faster conversion from leads to paying customers. You get 500 new customers, resulting in 3 million each year for 3 years. You receive 3 million now, and the next time the next 2 times you'll pass this square. So again, really, really good, especially for people interested in scale-ups. But obviously, you'll notice as well, so Innovation Norway, which is to support your Made in Norway program. So these are real life examples that are really good to help you along your way in the simulation. But obviously what goes up sometimes must come down. So we also have our bust cards. So let's just have a look. Bust, you are under investigation for tax fraud. Skip one, go. Your colleague is arrested at the border of China and Mongolia. She's suspected of smuggling technology without informing immigration. She explains that the technology is for an investor demo in Shanghai, but is misunderstood. Return all your investor cards and skip 2 rounds. So it said sometimes they can be very, very nasty. Same way as we said with the investor cards, we do always suggest that you stack as a facilitator, you stack the cards in order of, of aggressiveness. Some of these can be very aggressive. We don't want to take out people within the start of the simulation. So this is generally how you would have your board set up. You've got your boom and bust cards in the middle. Obviously your number of dice, you've got your players here. You'll have the bank down at the front end here. So this is obviously the facilitator view, strategy cards, investor cards sitting there as well. You'll see with the board, you have a number of boom and bust knocking around, and you'll see the market need, concept, MVP, launch and scale up. Those are the stages of a scale up. They'll map all of the tools that you would see in the long-term funding roadmap, building your scale up map, etc. So it all kind of correlates and interrelates. And as I say, it's a very simple gameplay. You roll the dice, you move your players around, and then at each point you need to remember that there could be learning points. So whether that's using a strategy card or using an investor card, it's always worth, I find when you're doing that first bit, just to read out each person or each team to read out their investor cards as well. So that's overall the main elements and the pieces. The final piece that we always recommend that you look at is the debrief card. So this is one of the most important aspects of it, and we do recommend that you, depending on whether it's a discovery session or whether it's a end of a 2 or 3 day program or a multi-month program, it's always worth spending the time to look at it. And it's important to understand what are the key takeaways, was there anything that surprised you, how does this relate to the work that you do, and what are the key learnings that can be useful. Really, really important to spend the time to debrief. We always need to remember that the scale-up simulation, the tools, it's all about a learning experience for the participants. It's not about winning the game, it really is about understanding different components. There's a lot going on, and no doubt more components will be added as we move forward and we invest more time in it. But yes, this is the scale-up simulation.